Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Monday workshop series. As always, every Monday we have a get together. It's more of a family get together. It's more of an opportunity to get to know the spiritual journey of another member of the family. So we call everyone who is on this journey of spirituality part of our family. They are the co-travelers. And today we have with us Sister Vandana. Sister Vandana has been with Baba's family for more than 2 decades. And before that, she has been practicing a lot of other, she explored different meditation practices and I get to know Sister Vandana when I went to Boston and meet her. And she has such a really lively energy. She makes she uplifts the whole atmosphere wherever she is. You know if she's in the house. So she has a lot of happy, joyful energy that she comes up with. But definitely she has done a lot of work on herself. She has gone through a deep practices, deep experiences with her. Today we have with us Sister Vandana, who is going to take us through this journey of awakening the divinity. So most of you, you know, one of our aim and objective of why are we doing all of this meditation, what is Raj Yoga is all about. So so at the end of the day, our aim and objective is to become Lakshmi and Narayan, which in other words is nothing but to awakening the divinity, right? And we have Sister Geeta with us. Let me see, Sister Geeta can so. Om Shanti Geeta Ben.
Om Shanti.
So we have Sister Vandana with us.
Yes, Om Shanti, Geeta Pen, Om Shanti, Sukanya Pen. It's so lovely to see you. This is such a fortune and my good surprise to have you, and just to kind of see you is so beautiful. So it's a great pleasure, and yes, to kind of connect with the San Francisco family, and yeah, so lovely to connect with you, Geeta Ben. I always remember you. In fact, very recently we were going to do the dance, Kandho Se Kandhe, and I was remembering it was you who had put it together initially. So, always have such good thoughts and memories from the past.
Om Shanti, Sister Vandana.
Om Shanti, Sukanya
Very
Ben.
good to have you and look forward to listening to your experience.
I know, I don't know how I got wrapped into this. So,
Yeah. Now, mainly so one of the intention of this session is when we get to understand the journey of other fellow traveler, and especially when they're heading in the same direction, there is a lot of things that we can learn. We don't have to go through each and everything, but we can prepare ourselves. And then one of the things, one of the studies that I was watching was there is a part within our brain which is called mirror neurons, which is actually when you observe somebody else, when you witness somebody else going through a certain experiences, we create that experience within ourselves. And that ability, that mirror neurons, what is there within our consciousness, is actually helping us to experience what other person has experienced. And that is what really helps us to empathize with others. That is what helps us to experience what others have experienced without myself going through all that process. And one of the main things, one of the main intentions of these sessions is to allow other Brahmin family to share their personal journey, especially deep memories that they have. Everyone has this core memories, and when they share that core memories, so we get to experience the subtleties and nuances that we ourselves haven't explored. So, and this is not a black and white process, and especially when we get to experience and understand, so that will go a long ways. And definitely, I'm sure Sister Vandana is going to uplift divinity in every one of us in today's journey, and with a lot of meditations, a lot of personal sharing, a lot of insights on the path of this journey. Without any further ado, I invite Vandana Ben, welcome. And I strongly recommend everyone to turn on their cameras if possible. Without drishti, we cannot connect. It is really a means to connect. I understand if you are not in a safe place where you cannot turn on your cameras, but if you can, that will be great.
Oh, thank you again, Harsha. It's a pleasure, and and I hear what you were saying, and it's so true. I think what I can really just do is share from my experience and see, some, and it's been a beautiful journey. And in any journey, there are ups and downs, and so the intent would be that I can share openly, and and anything that you have questions you can ask, but also we will do some meditation commentary and just go through that in that manner. Yeah. So so I mean, as Harsha was sharing, I began my spiritual journey in the early 2000s, and even though he said that I had explored other meditations, actually I had not explored anything. It was I was really not a very religious or a spiritual person. In fact, I don't think I even thought about the word spirituality. It was not part of my dictionary or vocabulary at that time, and I think that's probably true for many of us, because 20 years ago, it was not such a mainstream thing. I think the world was in a different place. There was some emphasis, but not so much on spirituality. I think Deepak Chopra was just emerging, and Eckhart Tolle maybe had come on the scene, maybe even not. So it wasn't so, much present in people's lives. So I did begin my journey of spirituality about, I think it was just about 20 plus years ago, when it happened to just fall in my path. I wasn't seeking or looking, and oftentimes I remember someone asked me, what pulled you to meditation? In each of our lifetimes, or on this journey of Raj Yoga, there is one thing that pulled you to come to, either come to the center or come back to a Brahmin soul, or something that pulled you. At least for me, especially to this meditation practice, it was the experience of love. And I think that always, that was the flame that kind of burned. It was, some people look for peace. It's not that I was looking, but that's what kind of captured me, or, got a hold of me. And it was this, we heard some of the, the Murli was all about the beloved and the lover. And I really felt like that true love is what connected me to Raj Yoga and to the practice of meditation. And in the beginning, I didn't really do the 7-day course. it was just this love that pulled me to the Brahmin family, to the center. And it wasn't so much like I was attracted to the family, but it was something, there was a belonging, a connection, but it was something beyond that was pulling the soul to come back for more. And that's when the journey began. I don't think I understood anything, or even tried to understand. And I had an instrument. It was in Washington, D.C. that I first came across the Brahma Kumaris. And and the instrument was Jenna Ben. And she's a very good pulse checker, you know. And so she basically asked me to come and start the Murli class, come for morning Murli. And that's really how I started to take my knowledge. You know, it was literally directly, Baba says, you know, direct knowledge from me. And so every time I stood in the Murli class, that has been my experience, that it is direct knowledge that I'm taking from Baba. And so the 7 days lessons was literally coming onto the surface from the Murli, from the Sakar Murlis. And so it was a very, very enjoyable time, you know, like everything was so bright and so new. So that was really the beginning of my journey, of my childhood in the Brahmin life. And so I think that would be what I would say. It's like I started with love and then began to experience, as the knowledge trickled down, came into this practice of peace, you know, and something else that really pulled me. You know, peace was actually just through the knowledge I was beginning to calm down, because I was a very happy person, but there was some kind of an emptiness I think we all experience when we're out there in the world. And that's what kind of started to trickle down to create that contentment and that state of peace. And then there was some experiences that were like pulling me as I looked at the seniors. You know, there was I had some kind of a vision, you can say. I was in Peace Village. By the way, I first came to the Brahmin family in, I had just taken some Brahmins over to Peace Village as guests. They were wanting to go for New Year's Eve. And so that was my first appearance, you can say, of connecting, of the Brahmin family appearing in front of me. And I remember stepping onto Peace Village land, and it was winter, it was December, it was cold, but it was such a magical moment. I was just in a, and that it's interesting because at that time Peace Village didn't even look half as good as it does today. You know, so it's not something physical that is creating that, but it's the energy that is in that atmosphere. It's the energy when one old soul meets another old soul, you know, and you just have to, you don't know it at that time. It's only in retrospect you can observe and see, yes, there was a very deep connection and in the atmosphere. So when I was there, I had a vision of, it was a, you know, I had not come through I did not know anything, but there was a Bap Dada's transmission as usual on 31st, and this is in 2001. And at that time, you know, it used to be not so tech savvy, so there was a projector and the transmission would come and everybody would be glued to that screen. And then in the evening, you know, because it would take almost 2 days for the Murli to be transcribed and then typed and sent over by email. The senior, which was Moini Didi at that time, was and was actually revising the Murli, and they would do that in the evening after the morning transmission. And I was standing in the reception, and you have to imagine, I am first time in the company of Brahmins. My sister is the one who kind of was following this path, and I had taken her up because she couldn't drive. And so I am totally fresh off the boat, like literally. I don't even know what Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual Organization. I just know that they're a spiritual organization, and here I am in the company of Brahmins. But I just felt so much at home there. And in the evening, as I'm entering the meditation hall, as you know, after dinner, the Didi Mohini is doing her revision of the class, and I'm standing on top of the reception, about to enter the hall, and everything becomes dark, and there's a spotlight on Mohini Didi. And of course, this is not my imagination. For me, this is happening. So I'm thinking this is what is existing, you know. And then whatever she's saying, even though she's on the stage, is coming through on top of the stairs. It was as if it's only the two of us existed in that time zone. And it was so clear, her words in my ears. Today, I don't remember what they were, but basically whatever she was sharing, the soul was experiencing, that is wisdom. And I would like to have that wisdom. Like, this is what I've been searching for. And I think that was the seed of planted. You know how Baba says the seed gets planted. And that was the seed of planting of my Brahmin life. And it was only after 3 years that I started going to this, as I shared with you, the Murli class that Jenna Ben asked me to start taking, you know, coming in the morning, even though I had not done the course, but somehow she recognized that I was ready for it. So that was the beginning of my German life. And, you know, nobody sat down with me and talked about purity or the food, because my sister was anyway, she had trained me on the food part already. Because when she would, you know, I was not a Brahmin, and then when she was, of course, following the principles, and when she would make me angry or upset, I would start to chop some onions and cook some curry. So, you know, so I knew that we don't have to, I didn't have to think through. It was just a, you know, overnight transition into the food, just naturally got dropped, and everything was very natural way of kind of just coming into Baba's world. So I think what I would say is that this journey in the beginning is very magical. I think one just has to, it's almost like a honeymoon with Baba. As I said, you know, it's like this love just opens up. When we have this, the soul has this deep memory of experiencing this deep loss. It's that emptiness is not something that is of this world. The emptiness is very deep. It's that thing that Baba talks about, you know, that you have searched for me for half the life cycle. And so it's that when the soul just even maybe sees a brochure or listens to a sentence or experiences the drishti of someone, it just starts to trigger or an emergence of these natural, original state of like connection of something very deep. And so one, it's not that one even has to try. It just, naturally appears. And I think one just has to be present in that environment off and on. And that's one of the reasons why, now that I reflect, that we have individuals come to the center, for different programs, like the Rakhi is coming. It's a very beautiful time, and having gone through that journey, it just helps me recognize the importance of creating this energy of Baba's purity. Like, we don't have to do anything. Baba just does it all. We just have to be present and bring the soul. Our job, feel, is just to kind of get them to the door. After that, everything else is, done by Baba. So I would say that has been my journey in the beginning, and as I was sharing, it's really just love, peace, and wisdom. And there's this, even a song, I think, by that, and those were the three things that really kept me moving through Baba's world with a lot of, at least from my side, I felt there was a lot of beauty in that space, a lot of joy, and and a lot of deep understanding of one's own self, that only you can understand, because you have had that journey through all lifetimes, searching for the truth, searching for God. And so I'm sure each one of you has experienced, like Baba has given these personal insights of answers to all your questions, of wherever you were looking for in those deep recesses of your mind. And I was just, as I'm sharing this, I was remembering that I grew up in Africa. I had gone to Africa when I was about 7, 8 years old. And I remember telling my mom, I could not, I didn't like food, and I would tell her, I wish God had only made fruits, because you just have these instincts, and then of course I went into boarding school and I ate everything. But actually, after I came back from in Africa, which is a very different cuisine, my mom was a very good cook and we were not vegetarians. I came to stay with my grandmom for a year, and she was a vegetarian in India, because I was going to go to school in India. And just being in that vegetarian household, I remember it triggered these deep insights. This is when I was probably 13 years old, of having this question of who am I, of who is God. Like, I would go onto the rooftop and ask these questions, like, if you are God, like, who are you? Where are you? Like, are you in the nature? Are you, and even to the deities, because we would have all these pujas during Diwali. But I would ask the question, like, why are we praying to them? What is the reason? Like, who are they, our ancestor souls? Because that time we also used to have in history books this thing about Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. So I would, like, that's the beginning of history, the Indus Valley. And so that's how far the intellect went, of humans. And so you're like wondering, like, but that was not exactly that, but it was kind of close. So where did these people come from? Did they drop from the sky? I couldn't, buy that. So there was always this quest, like, who are they? And so that's why when I went into the Murli class, it all became so clear. The answers just were so much present. And like, even today, Baba said, we chant Ram Ram, and that chanting, in at least in India, they would do this Ram Nam Satya Hai, and one would think like, what are they saying? Why are they saying Ram Nam Satya Hai? And but only when you recognize that the Ram that they're talking about is not the Ram of the Silver Age, but they're talking about Ram, who is one beyond the truth. You know, his name is truth. And so they do that as when they take when somebody has passed away and they're taking the body to the cremation ground. So I think there's so many insights that one gets in every corner of this journey that one is on, that connects so deeply to who you are and where you've come from and where you're going. So I'm just thinking, Harsha, should we take a break and get into a little bit of a meditation? Is that how you would suggest? Okay. So hopefully we can all just have a nice, relaxed, seated position. And just become present in this moment and let go of any thoughts from the day. Just pack up everything that has happened and just leave it at your door and enter this present moment. And as you are sitting here, connect with those childhood memories of your Brahmin life. That first glance, perhaps, when you met a Brahmin soul, because if it was the Brahmin soul, you know, they were carrying that glance from Baba, from Bab Dada. So it's not like a simple glance, but how Baba says, you know, in Hindi they say, Nazar se nihal. And I think it means in English that I wash you with love with my eyes. And so it's that sweet remembrance. And it helps me to let go of this gross physical consciousness and connects me deeply with my true identity of who I am. A subtle, conscious being of light. And it's like that first glance between I, the soul, the lover who connects with the beloved, I, that long lost child, connecting with the Father, after a long, long time. So really cherish and hold dear that sweetest memory when Shiv Baba liberates the soul in that single second. And it's Shiv Baba through that angel Brahma together so gently and so gracefully they pick up that broken heart and make it whole, make it complete, make it strong. Bringing it back to its original glory. So really just stay in that deep recognition of who I am, who I belong to, who is mine. Om Shanti. So hopefully each one of us was able to really find that, sweetest memory. Because I feel like those are like the best, yeah, best days. And it's just, even in today's world, if you look at the child of any child, no matter what is around them, they could be in poverty, they could be, not in a good school, the household may be all upside down, but the child is so, it has this capacity to always look at the moon, like always have that curiosity, that amusement. And I think that's how, even as Brahmin children, when we come to Baba, we are so innocent, we have no knowledge, and but it's that capacity that is of that curiosity of being a child. That's who we are, a young child, finding our parent, and just the joy of it is amazing. So continuing on, I went through my Brahmin life and it was all fantastic. Lots of beautiful moments. I remember, being in Peace Village again, because that was so often we used to go there and meeting with daddies and, just being in this beautiful company of Brahmins and all that. So I had some beautiful, beautiful memories. And that's another thing, I think, that I feel like Brahmin life is all about creating these beautiful memories. Because as I was sharing, it's like, it's not a light thing to take, or not to take for granted, this connection of souls, of Brahmin souls, of the family, whether it is your immediate Brahmin family or the larger Brahmin family, because we are definitely connected. Even like when we go to Madhuban, it is the energy of that whole vibrationally, it is totally beyond the world that is out there, so it is so precious. And it is only at this confluence age. So yes, we only have Baba at this confluence age, but we only have the Brahmin family too at this confluence age. Afterwards, we'll have, yes, the golden age, but we will not be aware of this connection between us and Baba and the Brahmin family. We would not have the Trikaldarshi stage that we have at this moment. So it is so critical to have this precious, to really value every moment of this journey, and even when it's not in its good phases. So because I remember I had, as I was going through my journey, it's like, 8-10 years, and I went to Madhuban in 2017, but even before that, I had gone to move my job, and my family was going through a lot of transition, because my sister kind of didn't want to go through this Brahmin. She's spiritual, but she was not interested in working through the Brahmin life. And so there was a lot of, adjustment there, as you can understand, deep souls. I mean, it's not by chance that we are karmically in this world together as sisters. And so there's a lot of understanding that is needed. But of course, it's not fully present. And then my mother was going through a health crisis. My job was going through a difficult thing. I had got a nice position, but the whole thing was so intense. I didn't almost. I resigned. So, it just happens, like things become very intense in life, and it all happens at one time. But all through that, one of the biggest challenges for me was that I was not being able to connect with the Murli or the Brahmin family. And so I think in each Brahmin life, at least from my journey, my perspective, there comes a time when you're moving along, Baba is there with you, but he does ask you to challenge, to take on the challenge, and so you're in a good state, and he says challenge Maya, and you don't even realize it, but you follow through. But the thing is, you're not very if you're not very knowledgeable about Maya, because we know a lot about Baba and it's great, but one is not always knowledgeable about Maya and or her strength and her power. And so I do remember having such a nice kind of a state with Baba, and then challenging Maya in a very normal way, because Baba said to challenge Maya. And you don't even realize, but as Brahmins, when we say something out into the universe, it meets you head on. And so very little by little, the challenges kind of kept coming up. But I don't think I was very strong consistently in my practice and dharana. I took things a little lightly. Yes, I had this relationship with Baba, and I loved the family, and yes, I'm following the principles and the Maryadas, but I was not, I would say, a very regular student. I would go there on Thursdays and Sundays to Murli, and of course there was distance, but and that was also not the time when we had Zoom and things like that weren't very prevalent. Yeah, at that time you had to, like, if you wanted to listen to the Murli, you had to go to class, to Murli class. And not that it could not be done, but I think you always have some excuses that you can make. And that's where I think Maya really tests you, and so you think you're doing good, but sometimes it's not always the case. So, because when the biggest challenges come and those things emerge, for instance, I think for me, it became quite clear that I was not on a very stable ground. So slowly, I felt I was going into a bit of a, because when everything came down together, all the crisis, it took me into a state of a bit of a depression. And I didn't even know, and this is very interesting because I had seen my mother, who had lost her sight during that a couple of years ago, go into a deep depression. And so it was a surprise for me to kind of find my own self in that same realm. And yeah, so I think that's an interesting kind of a phase that we go through. But even though I was doing that, I mean, I had to go through that. I think through and I was not listening to the Murli because nothing was making sense. And I think Baba says sometimes the Murlis don't make sense because it wasn't a very strong practice that had been ingrained. And sometimes maybe it has been ingrained and it still may not happen. But what kept me going was, I think, this one, I had created a habit of communicating with the self and with Baba. And so that connection, and that whatever dharana was there kind of kept me moving forward. And one other thing that kept me moving forward was that if I could not think anything straight, I basically asked Sister Kala that I wanted to come to Peace Village. So as I shared with you, that was my, starting point in Brahmin life. There is someone who is in Kaushalya. It's like creating a light. Don't know. It's like, I'm just gonna see if I can. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, sister. That was a very distracting. But thank you for shutting that off. So it was that's. Yeah, I asked Sister Kala that if I could come to Peace Village. So when there's certain times when nothing makes sense and you don't know what is happening in you, and of course you sit in, I went to Peace Village, and it does, Baba gives the support. Even though it's just the environment, because I think if one is that Brahmin soul, there is this, even when one doesn't know those spaces. I'm sitting in Murli class, and there's just something that is kind of like a balm to the soul. It's again not, it's not intellectual, it's not making sense, but there is that experience of just being in the right company. And so I think that really, it was kind of like, you can say it's a midlife crisis. I did many things, and I think that's where Harsha and I was talking. At that point, I did do a lot of seeking. Maybe my seeking had not finished. Seeking in the sense I went and looked for answers. I started practicing Hatha yoga, and I had done my teacher's training in 2015 in Hatha yoga, and even that helped me, and yet it was not helping me to through, but it was helping me through my depression a little bit, but not so much. And then I tried other yoga practices. Yoga in the sense Hatha yoga, and it was interesting. I tried Kundalini, because at that time the soul is really just searching for some kind of a support. And at least for this soul, it was interesting that I could feel the temporary benefit, because sometimes the energy is just stuck, and so when you do that movement, when you do something different, when you breathe in a different way, something you have to do, and the thing is to have the faith and trust that you, the soul, have the intelligence to find a way out. And I think it was that courage, because Baba actually had given this blessing when I first went to Madhuban, and how we all get this ring. The blessing that I got it was a picture of Madhuban, and on the back, it was just like a simple card, was that I am a victorious jewel, and for some reason you hold on to that one word. You may not even say it, you may not chant it, but deep down, you hold on to that one or two things that have been very critical or deep, memories, or a word that touched you, and that blessing, that you are a victorious jewel, kept me having that courage that I will be victorious. So even though I was in that doldrum of a space, it was for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3. I went to the ocean and looked at the blue sea, and it healed me. So I think different things just heal you. You just have to be open. This practice of different yoga helped me. I went to a retreat, not a Brahmin retreat, a Lokic retreat. There were 16 of us in that circle, and it was very spiritual in a way, but it was a modern spiritual, like in the sense it was more about just having silence and just being aware of who you are and your own journey. And I think from that gathering, it was very interesting that when I came back to DC, that was somewhere in Mexico that I'd gone. And it was a beautiful environment, Grace. I even met a shaman in that timeline of space. But even through all that, I just knew I'm a Brahmin, but I was seeking for my truth. There's like the deeper truth. And then I came back to DC, and it was very interesting that the oceans kind of healed me. I had to go through a process of going far into the world to let go of this attachment. There was a deep sense of attachment to the old self and some story. Who knows how these things attach to you. But going through that deep silence and looking at the ocean, and you all have the ocean right there to the Pacific. I don't think it's so blue. I think it's more green. And but just use the ocean to find that way of healing the self. And so what my realization was that there was this deep attachments that were holding on to the souls, which are actually the things that were hindrances in my journey to kind of follow through on these maryadas. You think these are like, they have just those 5 vices, and and of course all souls have them, but we also wonder, like, we conquered them. But then as I was sharing, when you challenge Maya, it was deepest vices that kind of, come on the surface. And so as I was sharing, my family, my sister, so those are all attachments that were, surrounding the soul, and even some friends and old stories that were present. And so it seems kind of, in retrospect, it's kind of silly a little, but you literally feel you're walking on coals, hot fire. Yeah. And so you are walking through that whole journey. And so a lot of that attachment really surfaces, but when you can see it for what it is, you can, there comes a moment when you can drop it. Like, it is so sticky, it sticks to the soul, like this entire kalpa, it has stuck, whether it's attachment. There are other things that needs to be worked on, but at least the attachment is a sticky one. And it's really liberating when you can finish it. So the moral of the story is that when you're going through a difficult time, know that there is benefit in it, because it is really there to help you conquer one of your Achilles heels, the stickiest point that has come to haunt you again and again. And if you can use whatever power you have to stay connected to your truth, whatever that means to you, yes, because each one of us has that deep recognition of Baba. And so for me, there was an article that came across from one of the group members who had gone through that 16 in Mexico, and that individual was talking about having this, she was talking about the word beloved, because she had found her her partner, love, as she was in that group. And so she talked about having found her beloved, but she was talking about this transition of breaking down the word beloved. And Baba talks so much about beloved today, but for me, it is so true that, you know, she had shared that in that word, if you break it down, first, it is to be love. Yeah, be love. Like, I just have to be love. That can I just be who I am? I am love. And then be loved. Like, can I be open to receiving, accepting that I am worthy of Baba's love? Because when you're in this depression, there's one of the things is you don't feel worthy of anything. But that you have to just know that you are worthy of being loved. So be open, be present to Baba's grace and light and love. Even in the darkest moments, it is reaching somewhere in the crevices. And then you are with the beloved. So when I can be love, I am open to being loved, recepting, be love also to others. You have to be that compassionate, even to your own self. And then be receptive to that, you know, divine love. And then you can be with the beloved. And she had written this article. And as I read it, you know, it was on a Facebook kind of, you know, group. And I just had to put in, after reading that, you know, I just said, you know, this is exactly how I feel about God. And I just said that, but that moment was a turning point for me. I mean, things had been, you know, shifting, but that moment, at least I could recognize as a turning point in retrospect that shifted my energy from that depression into a new way of being. Things were not perfect. This was in March. I'd gone for the retreat. April, I resigned my job. I think May is when I saw this article, but it really was a turning point for me to shift my energy. And I would say I don't think it was not easy. It didn't happen overnight, but I started to kind of I just knew there was a shift. And that I was in Washington, D.C. at that time. And, you know, I again went to Peace Village in April or June, July, and October. I was looking for jobs, and a recruiter called me and they asked me to see if I would come to Boston. I'd done my master's in Boston, you know, in Cambridge. And I said, you got to be kidding, because it's such a cold place. I would rather go south rather than go to Boston. But he kind of convinced me to have this conversation with this group. And I took that conversation, and somehow I did pick up that job. And I came to Boston towards the end of that year. And since then, I think it's like, you know, it's just that one thing leads to another. But I really felt that the story of the deep love and this connection with Baba as my beloved really transitioned or brought me back to my truth. And then he provided, Baba provided, you think you are doing the task. And I think one of those things that I took from it was that when you completely surrender, it's like, it's not surrendering anything, it's just surrendering your own. I think that sometimes this depression, you really let go, you really kind of let go because you become totally vulnerable in who you are, and you have nothing but, you don't even have one Baba, one support, but I think one has to kind of go deep, so deep, and then resurface, and that kind of is the surrender, that you basically let go of everything and then use only one Baba and one support to move you forward. And then it's his responsibility to really navigate you through. And then it's your trust in that surrender and that faith that it is Baba who is navigating your life. And yeah, so I think that was a deep insight, that whatever happens is for good, and that this journey, I will be a victorious jewel, and that one has to completely surrender to the one, to start finding that, because only once you surrender, then Baba can navigate. I think I would say I was very much, coming from this educational independent background, because I was in boarding school. There is a lot of like, it's not easy to let go, let someone else manage your life. So it's like letting, of course I'm responsible for myself, but it's really important to recognize who is really responsible, because I mean, when I have been responsible for the past 2,500 years, I know what it has led me to, which is why now I am in this position. And so really use my time with knowledge and yoga to recognize where I have to pay attention to what is the truth and how I want to let my life be led. Either, like Baba talks many times, these days he's been a little hard sometimes, like Srimad, make effort on Srimad. So yeah, so I think that becomes a very deeper way of being with Baba, and really recognizing that. So I think, how about we do one more meditation, since I've been talking for so long. Yeah. And create this space. So just again, become very present and recognize your subtle self as this point of light, the truth, that sparkling diamond that you are. And just bring this pure divine energy this divine light from Baba. Let it just embrace you, envelop you, your entire self. It is this cool and yet this warm embrace. It is filled with this unconditional acceptance of who I am, just as I am. I don't have to be anything else but me, myself, the being, the light. And I know that Baba knows me the best. He has recognized the soul, that original diamond, that victorious jewel of light, filled with might. And Baba is the purifier, the one who is ever pure. And his vision has fallen on this soul. So let me accept Baba's vision of who I am, an elevated, worship-worthy soul. Who has gone through the entire cycle of the world, filled with all experiences, with all virtues, with all the qualities of truth, love, peace, power, bliss, and purity. This is my true self. This is my original identity. These are my original qualities. And in this vision of myself, I become equal to my Baba. And I can serve the world in company of Baba and help him in his task. In his task of purifying I, the soul, and through me, the entire world. Using my thoughts, my words, my actions, using my mind, my body, my wealth, and my relationships. So it is through me that Baba gets his task accomplished. Always have this strong company of again recognizing who I am, who I belong to, and who is mine. Om Shanti. So the final segment, I talked about the beginning, the middle. I know this is not the end of my journey, but I can share with you the present, as in where I am at this moment in my journey on this. And I would say, yes, it has been a beautiful time, and where my focus really is. I think what I was beginning to consider is really, as I came through this journey of my midlife thing, it was about sustenance. And today, having gone through that, I really feel this sustenance is really every moment of the Brahmin life is sustenance. Like every moment from the childhood, having in the company of Brahmins, being in the company of the seniors, even though we were not doing anything, it's just adding up, the being able to listen to the Murli now and have classes via Zoom. I mean, I'm connecting with you across the continent. So everything becomes a sustenance, our company of each other, our insights, our sharing, our service. You think you're doing service, but actually that is a form of sustenance because it's sustaining you. And so it has been totally a beautiful way of really opening up the intellect to really be able to, it's like you have an X-ray vision now that you can go into the depth of knowledge. You know, you don't, in the beginning, I got my 7-day course from the Murli, but I feel now I am able to really use it in my dharana and really kind of make it as like it's sustaining me in a very practical way, very practical way. And so where is my effort right now? And at least for the moment, what has really been coming in front of me is there are certain things that Baba's really been sharing. And one of those things that he recently said was about, you know, that your feelings for me, for Baba, are number wise. And that was an interesting thing Baba said, because he usually says, you know, you have love for me 100%, but he was sharing your feelings for me are number wise. And then he said, they are based on your effort, which is number wise. And so it really kind of like, I think, propelled me, because as I was sharing, I mean, there's this strong bond between me and Baba, you know, with lover and beloved, like, and yet I know that my feelings are number wise, so I have to make them totally 100%, like have complete only Baba. And that is dependent on the effort that I'm making. So it's really my effort which helps me to really recognize God, Baba, deeply as he is, what he is. And so really it's, you know, the experience I was having sitting in Murli class a couple of days ago was that Baba was sharing that in, you know, because we have communication with Baba, that he has shared all the knowledge with all the souls. Like, at least with me, he was like, I have shared everything with you. But now it's really about practice. And the more I practice this knowledge, the more I practice remembrance, the more I practice putting it in my dharana, the more the knowledge will reveal to me. So really, so I think sometimes I feel I'm just scratching the surface. Like, even though I've been a Brahmin like for 20 years, it's really, I've just begun my Brahmin journey. That's how it feels. Yeah. And so I think when we can just keep that in mind, that every beginning, so I think that's really my present moment, is to really have this deeper recognition of Baba and to really focus on the practice. And the practice is really of being soul conscious. That is the practice that remains at the end, you know, to deepen that through knowledge, through spinning of the discus of self-realization, you know, and just being okay with whatever is happening in the moment, and to have that faith that whatever is happening is good, and whether, even if it is not seemingly good, and that whatever will happen will be even better. And that Baba has your back. Baba really has your back. So having that faith to move on in this journey, and yeah, I think that's really what I wanted to share. To really have this faith that Baba has your back, that whatever is happening is good. And that sometimes when you feel those slumps, I don't know if you were familiar, but Brother Ed, who was in Peace Village, would always have this thing about the S curve. So I took that course a long time ago. I think it was kind of called the leadership something. Can't remember it, but it was something about leadership. And there he would go into that S curve. And, you know, if you all are familiar, there is a trajectory, like it goes up and you're having a great time. And then everything plateaus. Everything plateaus. And even Baba says everything goes to cycles. So it plateaus and then it starts to curve down. And the trick is when it's curving down to use that moment of that conundrum to find that curve to come up. Find something, a point of knowledge, something that will make you come up again, so that again you kind of have a trajectory going up. And so you're constantly, even though because it will come down. So always to realize that yes, Baba says to be always happy and to be content, but be your detached observer, be your own detached observer. When you are going through that S slump, to be a detached observer and to find a point to kind of bring that S curve up into the leeward side instead of the windward side, or the windward side instead of the leeward side. And not to be afraid and keep moving up and up, because this is the only time when we have Baba, and he has promised us that this is the time for ascension. So even though it seems we may be in the doldrum at times, if I have that right company in my intellect and I have the relationship with the one, whatever relationship it is that you are working with, and you have to work with all, but there'll be some relationships that would really make you continue. Either a friend, beloved, companion, partner, father, mother, child, whatever works for you, that would be your sweetest relationship that can always, you can count on it to get you out of the doldrum. So I think I will stop there. Harsh Pai.
Yeah. Thank you. It was really beautiful. I have a couple of questions for myself, but I just want to check if anyone have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself, and if you have any comments. Yeah. So one of the things, Vandana, when you are sharing about when you go through some internal challenges, especially when you're talking about depression and things like that, could you elaborate a little bit around what actually was the challenge? Because once you come into Gyan, you know the Gyan, that I'm a soul, this is just a journey, Baba is always there for us. Everything is a drama, it is predestined, people come, people go, relationships change. And of course, like you're saying, the attachment is always there, and then people are changing, things like that. But that understanding is there, that clarity is there, but now somebody with that understanding, and what does depression mean in that sense? Is it really emotional, and is it could you elaborate a little bit around that?
You know, it's interesting. It's that you're not connecting, or you're not able to connect your truth. You're not feeling this connection of being soul conscious. You're not able to feel Baba's presence in your life in a real way. Like it's like you're disconnected. You're just not able to feel. So it's kind of like and nothing seems to be on the surface. Nothing seems to be a problem, although there are problems, challenges, but those are problems on the external. But internally, the individual somewhere is kind of like on a very lonely island, and not feeling this connection with, at least for Brahmins, I feel it's about not being able to have this experience of this energy of Baba. Like you listen to the Murli, but you're not being able to connect. You do the things you do, the motion, but you're not able to connect. And it's almost like there is no sense in living. So that it's kind of a very deep experience, but yet you have to put one step next to the other. And so that's what it is. It's not an easy, it happens, but you don't feel like there's anything worth the while. And yet that's when, so that deeper sense of connection is not there. But at that time, some of these moments, like I was sharing this thing about something is in your intellect somewhere, because of some memory, because of this, the company of the Brahmins in the past, some things kind of like keep you moving, or keep you connected. But at those times, I think for me, it was really important to ask for help. So of course I had a therapist at that time, but even more than that, I went to the Brahmin family, like whoever you're close to. I went to Kalapen and I just said, I want to come. And I think the seniors who have known you, or they know. I mean, in a way they know, but nobody can gauge where the individual's gonna land, the journey. But we each have to find our own way. So the family can support in a way, but at the end, you have to walk the walk, because it is an inner journey of the self, and you and Baba alone. So I think that's what it is, and there lies that thing. There has to be something that will bring that deep connection back, but there has to be a transformation of a deep sanskar, overcoming whatever there is in the way. And you know what? In retrospect, I knew exactly what it was. It was attachment. While I was there, I couldn't figure out. I was in it. So, I would get upset. I would get lonely. I would get, So the reason was that I was think and the question was also like, is this really for me, this life, and so I did have that question, is this really for me? But I had to find out for myself, and yes, but Baba really, he knows the child, but I know that I have had so many Brahmin sisters, my own sister and friends, who also had a challenging moment, and different people dealt with it differently. Some are still Brahmins, and some are not Brahmins, and some are in different places. But I feel like each one of them is living their truth, whatever their journey is. And And so I think that's what I would say. It is about finding your own and overcoming whatever it is that is pulling you. As long as you're happy, in what you're doing, that's what really matters.
That is true. Yeah. So one of the things I was also turning on this very topic of why depression comes to Brahmins, and and then every answer is there in the Murli, and especially today's Murli is very appropriate for this topic. Is concepts can take you to so far, and that new excitement, new realization creates a sense of relief, sense of clarity, and then say like, yes, I can see through what it is, and that clarity will take you only to so far. But like you are saying, if I'm not feeling what I understand, and what I am feeling is based on whatever is going on inside, which could be attachment or it could be some other thing which is holding me back from experiencing what I understand, that starts choking the soul. Literally start choking the soul, like Dadi Gulzar always says, like your breath is your happiness. The best medicine is your happiness. If you're not happy, you're not moving forward. If I am not enjoying, if I'm not experiencing that sense of happiness, if I'm not converting that understanding into an experience, and I like the very, because when I tried other meditations before, and when I first came, I was actually, because other meditation they have clear step 1, step 2, step 3. Focus here, focus there, do this, do that. Vipassana, just focus on your thought, breaths, feelings, and just observe, detach. Like it's good to so far. But and mantras, I used to do transcendental meditation and stuff, and then you have that chant going on, and it helps you to relieve to some extent. But when I first came here, I was trying to put my finger on what actually is your practice. what do you guys do here? What is the practice? Give me some clarity. Of course, concept is good, soul, God, karma, cycle. These concepts are good. Like, what do you want me to do? So then it took a while for me to digest this word. Like the whole practice is about remembrance. And then my question started coming like, remember what? Of course, you gave me a concept. So then you're asking me to remember, like I don't have an experience to remember. I remember that which I experienced. And then this Murlis went deeper and deeper. I said, like, you got to dig in. You already have a memory inside. You got to dig in and then look for that memory because you already experienced. And that is what opened up a big thing. So whatever you try to do, whatever concept you try to do, if you cannot access that core memory which you already had from the previous cycle, you didn't reach your destination. I think that is why Baba was emphasizing remember, remember, remember. And then everything that Baba gives in the Murli is he's all giving a lot of clues to invoke that core memory, which we have already experienced long back. But it has been a long time. Mm-hmm. It has got buried in a lot of other experiences of this physical world. And these worldly experiences are not shallow either. And they were also deep experiences. That what covers the core experiences that we had. And now when I start thinking, when Baba says like, your practice is remembrance. Your practice is to dig into that core memory. Once you hit that core memory, then everything opens up. Like today's blessing or slogan Baba was telling, when you are in that blissful, perfect, complete state, you're like God. You are doing God's work. You are like just radiating, and that really makes sense, And this practice you never hear anywhere else. This practice you never hear anywhere else, and. Yeah, because I was always questioning this concept of why did Baba is talking about the cycle? I'm here to meditate. You tell me the practice. What do you want me to do? You want me to focus this, look at that, look at this? Why are you talking about the cycle repeat? So who cares if it repeats or doesn't repeat? And then I realized it repeats. Why he is telling? Because you got to remember what happened last cycle. That is why he's telling that.
Yes, yes. No, and that's what I felt like. It's been very deep this week, like to all the knowledge, like you're saying, is in the memory, and he's sharing it even, and he's in fact now it's not even in the memory; it's in on paper.
Hmm.
And I mean, some of us who have heard some of the Murlis, I mean, we've been hearing for a couple, even if you've heard it for 2, 3 years, you have a lot of knowledge. Even a year, it's like because those are the same Murlis, and so the knowledge is all in. Like, in fact, if you've done the 7-day course, you've got all the knowledge.
Majority,
You've
yeah.
got access to it.
Hmm.
Now it's just so Baba has given us all the knowledge he's shared, but it is how much I practice, because the practice and put it into feeling, like you're sharing, will go into that creating that core, emerging that core memory that you have to hit that core memory deep down. And once that is there, then the entire truth is revealed. Like the entire truth will be revealed. But I have to do that for every word that Baba has said now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, so it's not like it's like, yes, and that's how I feel like the dadis and the didis are, they have gone and practiced and gone hit the core of every sentence, every word. And so the truth is revealed to them. Like they are walking the truth, they are experiencing the truth. And so are we. We too are doing it, but it's like, based on my practice and my effort of how much I remember. Because remember, it's not just one remembrance of Baba. Spinning this discus of self-realization is remember. Doing the practices. Remembrance is everything that I am, wherever I am using something that has truth based on Srimad or God's, direction and knowledge. That is all remembrance. Anything that I pick and I work with it will be my remembrance. So
Yeah.
yeah.
If anyone have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah, it is really beautiful, and especially the point that you shared. When you're absorbed in that sense of attachment or something, you cannot know what is going on. It is like you're absorbed into it, so you cannot separate yourself. And
And sometimes you're even aware because you're Brahmin, you're cautious and all, but it's very, it's very like you don't it's not like you have total clarity. You have this, you are cautious, but you are not totally able to let go. And it's not because it's not because of this present lifetime, huh? And that's like a deep insight. Like it's something that you have to really surrender to Baba. You really have to say, I am surrendering. you know I think that's how also Baba finds us. Otherwise, before Baba finds us, we are kind of helping ourselves. And it's that moment when you say, yes, I I am defeated. I cannot help myself with my own methods and my own tricks and my own knowledge. And I'm ready to use the truth to guide me.
yeah, that
And I think,
surrender is a big part. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's kind of interesting that we have a lot of it. There's a lot of ego, no, at that point, to not
Mhm.
being able to, because I don't want. I have helped myself. It is such a deep memory of having to be your own, in charge of your
Mhm.
own life. And that's why I think it is this me, my, and mine comes. So yeah, if anyone has any thoughts, insight, a word.
Om Shanti Vannaben. Uh, the question I have is, you said that acceptance of the present moment is very important. So if you're not in acceptance of the present moment, does that hinder your progress or understanding of Gyan?
It depends, sister. Because, if you're Baba's child, he will provide the help. He will, like I said, he is your backbone. And he's very patient. And so he will try one way, he'll try another way. He will keep trying to help you as long as you're honest. And but there will be a time, I think, you cannot gallop forward without accepting. Yes, and it's not just the present moment, it's accepting my reality, my true identity, and accepting what God is saying I am. Because if I'm not accepting one thing, it's like I am not completely having the faith. And faith is also number wise, but somewhere I have to keep trying to find a way to accept, because yes, it does create a block. Baba will never ever cancel anything, any child's fortune out in any way, because he's the father. He will do everything in his power to make us victorious. That's his promise to us, and I have that total faith. And I often joke that I am his biggest task. I, the soul, so we are his biggest task. We are. That's his. Because he's like, we are his biggest task. Why do you think he's like had to have this so much, paraphernalia of Raja Yoga also?
Yes,
So many
yes.
years.
Yeah,
So
very
yeah.
well said. And while you were saying, what occurred to me is Baba has created the perfect conditions in your life for the soul's evolution and progress.
Baba and drama, because
Both.
Baba and drama are, drama is my best friend. Baba is a really good friend, but if I can see drama as a friend, yeah, nothing is going to, even when problems come, your immediate reaction may come from an old sanskar, but immediately you will say drama is, that drama is your friend. And so you will find a way to make it beneficial. Because it is beneficial. And so you have to, it's kind of like a game drama plays, it wants you to figure out, like, it doesn't want to just give you everything on the platter, no? Like, it wants you to feel like where you have to, it's kind of like a game. It says, find what is beneficial in this. And so, yeah, Baba and drama have created the perfect, but it is the perfect, it is the perfect play.
I get that. I
know. I'm just like.
No, it's perfect what you said. And instead of fighting it, if you look at it as this is the best for my soul's evolution, it may not appear to be the best right now, but this is where I need to go and figure out how to evolve into a soul.
Into this deep connection. Yes.
And the deep connection.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're going through it, it doesn't feel that way. But the thing is, if you can keep moving through that haze in some way. And I must say it is a haze because it could go another way. You know, you could go back into the old world. But you have to find a way to stay the course, you know, and that's where this faith in drama and these things, you know, which are just concepts, as Harsha was sharing, and that's why drama is beneficial, because the concepts become reality. Like, but you have to, you know, because Baba says you have to become the conquerors of Maya. You know, now I have to become a conqueror. I have to defeat Maya to become conqueror. If I am not defeated, you know, it is a boxing match. So if I am boxed, I have to get up and, you know, and without the experience of conquering, I will not conquer Maya. I will only be playing at the edges or be scared of it or imagine or think that I'm conquering, but but never to underestimate her. That was a good lesson. And but also never to underestimate who I belong to, you know. So and so it's an interesting journey, and I don't think all the challenges are over, but I think when you have like a deep victory, like something like that, it just is, you just know that you can take anything that comes next, but also you're gonna become more prepared, and it'll become more subtler, but you will be more prepared. And that's why also you recognize the structure that is around you to help you. So you stay within the fortress and you deal with it within the fortress. It may not be comfortable at times, but you deal with it within the fortress. And you take help, you know, inside, outside, but you take help.
Great. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, Kalpana Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, Thank you, Vandana Ben. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So, thank you for this beautiful sharing. And so, we'll stay in touch in our subtle form in tomorrow's Amrit Vela. So, we'll get in touch with each other.
I know. Yes, it was lovely to reconnect, Harshpai, and lovely to kind of, you know, share from my heart. And I hope, you know, I would get to kind of sometime meet with you all and know your journeys too. And really just wish you the very, very best. Yeah, just stay, you know, find that one relationship with Baba, enjoy it. And you know, dadis used to say that play with him, talk with him, and I would be like, really? Like, he's a point of light? Like, how do you, like, you know, do that? But it's really interesting that when you go through some of these difficult moments, that's when you start to really, you know, pull Baba in, and you really try and use him. And so really use him and see how you know, make it a beautiful beautiful tapestry.
Thank you.
Okay. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.